Welcome to everyone that's joining us for today. We are going to get started in about 30 seconds. Thank you for joining us for our last parenting panel of the year, where we're going to be focusing on caregiving for a partner with cancer while raising young children. I'm going to start by just going over a little bit about our organization, especially if you're new to us. At Bright Spot Network, we support parents who are diagnosed with cancer, with any type of cancer, any stage, diagnosed while pregnant or while raising young children. And we support partners, as well as parents. All of our programs are remote and virtual so that we can serve parents living anywhere in the United States. Our mission is to really connect parents to resources so that they can better parent through a cancer diagnosis and also connect to each other because community is so essential when you can often feel so isolated and alone through this experience. And we support parents through free books as part of our Bright Reads program, where we send parents books about cancer, treatment, big feelings, grief and loss. We provide a point of connection through our Bright Box art activities. We have a small financial grant. We have virtual support groups for not only the person with cancer, but for partners as well. We have monthly connections for kids through Bright Circle, Bright Club. We have webinars like today and different wellness workshops. We offer family resource navigation to help parents get connected to either local resources or other more specific connections they're looking for. And our website has a host of many, many different free and downloadable resources, videos, blogs, and tons of great information to help you parent through a cancer diagnosis. For today's webinar, if you have a question, feel free to type it into the Q&A box. I think I'm probably going to hold most of the questions till the end. You do have the option to send your question anonymously, and feel free to put that question in at any time throughout the presentation. At the very end, I will drop a link in to a survey. I will also put that link in the follow-up email. And we really do appreciate your feedback about what you like about webinars and panels, what you're looking for as we plan for next year. We are also recording this panel. So even for those of you who are here now, we will send the recording. So that way, if you want to share it with anyone or you need to step away for a little bit, you'll be able to rewatch it and won't miss any of it. Oh, right there, like I just said. In addition to sending it to you in the follow-up email, we will post it on our website, again, on our resource page for future viewings. Right. Very excited to have our panel with us. My name is Carissa Hodgson. I'm the Director of Programs at Bright Spot Network. I do co-facilitate our twice monthly partner support group, and really excited to be here moderating the panel today. My personal connection to cancer is that my dad had lung cancer when I was 7, and then my stepfather had liver cancer when I was a young adult. So I come into this work as the adult child of having a parent with cancer. I'm gonna have the panelists introduce themselves, but really excited to have quite a wealth of experts and folks that can share a lot of great expertise and wisdom with you all today. Ashley, do you mind getting us started?
Thank you so much, Carissa. My name is Ashley. We live in the San Francisco Bay Area. Just over a year ago, my husband Joe was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is an incurable and quite aggressive form of brain cancer. Our kiddos at the time of diagnosis were 11 months and newly turned 3. So now we have a 4-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. And what brings me to the panel today is there's not a lot of people who can understand and relate to having a partner or someone in the family with cancer and also trying to raise young children. So I try and share our story and things that have helped for us as much as possible because a lot of people adjacent to our lives want to help, but just don't know how. And my hope for this is that we can share with each other, but also create a resource for the people in our lives to look at if they're wanting to know how best to support us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. Adam.
That's beautifully said, Ashley. I agree wholeheartedly. I'm Adam. I am coming in from Providence, Rhode Island. My wife, Allison, had emergency gynecologic surgery in July for a twisted ovary, and it turns out that that ovary twisted because she had stage 4 colorectal cancer, which was quite shocking because she was asymptomatic completely aside from that, surgical emergency. This was a few months ago, so our kids were 6, 9, and 11, and they've had a few birthdays since then. So now they're six, or sorry, they're 5, 9, 11, now 6, 9, and 12. And I agree with what Ashley said. I think it's such a stressful and atypical experience to be trying to help your children thrive while you and your partner are just trying to survive. And I think we've learned all a lot collectively. And I love the idea that we can try to help others through this journey.
Thanks, Adam. Tori.
Hey everyone, I am Tori. I am coming to you from Denver, Colorado. So this March, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma, which is a very rare bile duct cancer. And I'm sure, like many of you, this has completely reshaped our lives. We've moved cities, we've moved back home again, we've bought insurance, we've changed doctors, we've kind of done the whole host of fighting for him. And very similar to Ashley and Adam, I've found it incredibly isolating, even though we're surrounded by tons of people and tons of love. It can be incredibly isolating. And so I'm here to kind of, even though I'm still learning and we're still in the thick of our cancer journey, to kind of offer support and camaraderie for all of you that are going through this. Oh, and we have a son. His name is Henry. He's 2. Forgot, forgot the most important part.
Thank you, Tori.
Thanks.
Alex.
Everyone, I'm Alex. My wife, Prairie, was diagnosed with triple positive stage 3 breast cancer a little over a year ago. And at that time, my kids were 5 and 3. And so it was a very rough journey. I think, long story short, I'm the type of person that doesn't like asking for help and doesn't like showing that I'm in need of help. And I think this opportunity, this seminar was such a great way to really pay it forward and to create awareness of like asking for help is okay and it's very much needed for this journey. So yeah, excited to be here.
Thank you, Alex. So I think a good way to maybe just get us started is if you guys would want to share one thing you would want people to understand about what it is really like to be a caregiver while raising young children.
I would say that you're not going to bother me. I've had friends and family before say, "Oh, I've been thinking about you. You're always on my mind, but I know you have so much going on and I don't want to bother you." Um, Text messages, checking in, phone calls like, "Hey, how can I support you? What do you guys need? Can I drop off dinner?" will never bother me. Like we're going through the hardest thing anyone in our family has ever had to go through. And so offering support or check-ins is is not even going to be anywhere close to the list of things that are annoying or hard or bothering me that day. So I would say if you're thinking about someone who's going through a hard time, whether it's cancer or otherwise, send the text. Send the text right then when they're on your mind. Make the phone call, leave a message if they don't answer. Expect that maybe will be 3 to 5 business days before they respond to you, and don't get upset if the response doesn't happen right away. But it will never be a bother to know that I'm on someone's mind and they're thinking about our family.
I love that, Ashley. I continue to tell that to people because I often get a very similar response. Uh, the thing for me, and it's already kind of been talked about, but it is so profoundly isolating to be, a caregiver and a young family, and have a husband or a partner who has cancer. My husband and I often joke and that we now live on what we call Cancer Planet. So, with his diagnosis, we are no longer on planet Earth, and cancer kind of defines everything, and it defines our day to day and how we plan for the future and how we think about things. And it can be really isolating to watch people in our community that we used to be really close to move on, and plan their families and plan vacations, and we're kind of stuck in purgatory. And we're living scan to scan, and we're living treatment to treatment. And so, it can be really, really hard and isolating, especially even when you're surrounded by a lot of love. So if you're feeling the same, if you are also on Cancer Planet, if you're here, you're probably on Cancer Planet. You're not alone, and there's a really moving community here with you.
I very much resonate with what Ashley and Tori just said, and Tori being you mentioning like Cancer Planet is very much real, and it's like you have a big fat cancer sticker on your forehead and your partner's forehead wherever you go, even in your circles and your community, and it does feel really isolating because people do move on, and it feels very isolating because that's all people see, and it's just like every conversation, every interaction is about cancer, and like obviously everyone means well, but sometimes you just want to be like, I can we just like do life or like talk about other things, um and I think that's really hard, and that feels isolating as well. And so I think in a nutshell, it just I'll be really candid that the journey really sucks. It's it just sucks so bad, and it's really hard. And I think people know that it's hard, um, but for us, our loved ones who are going through it, and the caregivers, it is really lonely, and it sucks. But yeah.
And I echo what everyone else has been saying. And I think the thing that's also important to remember is like your needs evolve over time. So in the immediate diagnosis, like you're flailing, right? So we had friends who would just drop food off on our porch, and like because we would have forgotten to make dinner because we're just trying to coordinate calls, and that was like a godsend. But at this point, if someone dropped food off at our porch unannounced, we'd be like, that is not helpful because we don't have any more freezer space. So like kind of triaging your needs, and what has been really helpful for us, aside from both of Allison and I do these virtual support groups through Bright Spot and have found them profoundly helpful for our everyday life, but kind of being as explicit as we can with what's going on, meaning we have like a Caring Bridge site. And so when people ask me at work, I'm like, well, Allison just posted a few days ago on Caring Bridge because like I don't have the energy or the time to like recount the latest saga for the 14th time that day, though it obviously comes from a place of well-intention. And then we had friends who organized, food delivery, like a meal train type thing that also took so much stress off of our lives. But that we didn't have the ability to do that. So I would say, checking in with people initially, and having a few people be your point people that can then disseminate the information really makes you feel supported but not overwhelmed, because it can also weirdly, while you feel very isolated, feel like you can't get any air because you're getting inundated with people asking how they can help you without, the ability to kind of manage it coherently. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but I do agree with what Ashley said, that like please reach out, and it feels weird when someone's like, I've been thinking about you all weekend, and you're just like, well, I had a horrible weekend alone. It would have been nice to have feeling that someone was thinking about me. You know what I mean? So
Mm. Yeah, sometimes it's just those little things, right? And I think sometimes people forget that They can send messages that don't require a follow-up even. I think sometimes that's the most welcome. I mean, people don't ask you a question. It's more of a, I'm just like, hey, I'm thinking about you. Here's a funny meme. Whatever it is, and it doesn't even require a response. And especially people say, sending this to you, don't even have to, don't reply, don't respond. That just, again, it's a bonus because that's one less thing you have to do. I'm
Can I, Carissa,
wondering,
sorry,
yeah.
can I ask one little thing too?
Yeah.
I really appreciate the friends who just like drop something off. They don't say anything, they just drop it off. Because there are friends that are well intentioned, and when they ask or when they say, "Hey, let me know if there's anything I could do," but on our side, I'm like, there's a million things I just can't I can't organize that information right now. But the friends who just like show up, throw stuff on our door, even if it's like our fridge is full, like that's very much appreciated because you're just like, okay, cool. I don't have to think about that. So yeah,
That's true. I didn't want to imply that that sort of gesture is not welcome, but it
100%.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And like we have like we're Jewish and we have kind of a family member that drops off a challah every Friday that's freshly baked on our porch and just like texts us when it's there. And like that has allowed so much ritual and normalcy in our life that it's like hard to describe how meaningful that gesture is. So
Mm. I know I've had some caregivers and partners say, like how, because you're right, that question, I think that's the hardest question to get is like, how can I help? Or let me know how I can help. Because again, that just puts it back on you and you're like, I have enough to do. And so I've had some parents find a lot of value in keeping sort of an ongoing list of here are 5 things that you could always help me with. So that way, if someone texts you, you just copy and paste it and you're like, here's a menu. Go ahead and help me with any of these. Let me know which ones you're going to do. Because you're right, it's hard when, again, people are well intentioned. They're trying to say I want to help, but it's easier if they just do it, right? I'm wondering if you guys can speak to how you divide your time and energy between your partner and your kids. Because I know sometimes, as the caregiver, you feel very much in the middle of trying to meet everyone's needs and sometimes never making anyone happy. How do you guys navigate that?
My short answer for this is that I can't. It just every day feels impossible. And over the past year, I've resigned myself to the fact that I am not going to do everything well all day long. So I found what helps me the most is when I just set an intention in the morning when I wake up. I say, okay, we have a lot of phone calls to make with the insurance. We need to plan some treatment. So today I'm going to be a really great caregiver. And then throughout the day, if I'm able to make those calls and we get the insurance approvals, but my kids watch TV for 3 hours and they eat dino nuggets, it's still a win because I was a really great caregiver. And then other days I'll be like, you know what, today, like the kids need a break from everything. We're going to go to the children's museum. We're going to have so much fun. Like I'm going to be in it. I'm going to be present. We're going to laugh. And if we do that, but the house is a wreck, it's fine because today, like the kids had a great day. So that, and it's just still a struggle. I think as parents to young kids, we want to do all the things and be all the things. And as partners to somebody going through something so terrible, of course, we want to be there for them. But I feel like trying to do all of that every day is the fastest way to caregiver burnout. You can't do it.
Yeah, actually, I keep getting this question from friends, like, "Gosh, how do you do it? How do you manage it all?" And the answer is like, I don't. Like, very often, there's a lot of things that I'm not doing. There's texts that are unanswered, and I think, like, my approach has been just living day by day. Like, okay, what do I need to do today? What is today going to bring me? Sometimes my husband needs more support. Sometimes my work needs more. Sometimes my son needs more. And like, okay, that's going to be the priority for today. Very often it is not myself. I'm going to talk about that later. But it's just kind of the reality of it. It's like something's got to give, and it's okay. Like, to try not to be too hard on myself and kind of take each day as it comes.
I agree again with what was said. And I think I have like very intentionally given myself grace, like consciously, for exactly the reasons that Tori and Ashley were saying that that, I am not a very good cook. So on the days that we don't have food delivered, like the kids know that they might not be getting the best meal, but they're going to have some sort of food on the table. And I think also just being at peace with the fact that everybody's needs are going to ebb and flow. So like when Allison, it's actually easier for us in a weird way when Allison's getting her chemo because she's like out for the count. And then when she like resurges and we like kind of we equilibrate to having a more present mom through the process. But one thing that I've been super intentional about and very transparent with at work is, they all know what's going on. And so I'm very aggressive with what I, pour on to what I'm supposed to be doing every day. Like I've never said no to more things, and I don't really care because my priority is really my kids and my partner through this like trauma of cancer. And if that means I don't like go give a talk somewhere, that's prestigious, like it at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So just like giving yourself grace that this time in your life is atypical and nothing is going to be perfect, but you're going to get through it as long as you keep communicating and be patient with yourself.
Um, I'll let you guys know when I figure it out, but like I don't even know how I got this through this past year. But I agree with everyone here. I didn't really know the meaning of like taking it day by day until like going through this journey because you're just thinking about, oh, this weekend, next week, next month, but it's like if you think about that, it's just so overwhelming. So you're just like, okay, how can I get through today? And then the next day hits, and you're like, okay, how can I get through this day? Um, and yeah, and to Adam's point of like saying no, like having kids means your schedule is so packed, and you're gonna get all these like, hey, come to my kid's birthday and whatnot, and I'm like, I'm good. Like I'm not gonna. If I take my two kids, I know I'm gonna be yelling at them in the car. So yeah, just like Adam said, giving yourself more grace, and then just taking it day by day.
I know some of you mentioned work, and we do have a question from an attendee about how are you guys, managing work? If you, work outside the home, how is that going?
I am working remotely. I work for a healthcare company and they have been incredibly understanding, but I am I'm not someone that I would want to hire, honestly, right now. Like, I am giving the bare minimum. I'm attending meetings if it's not a treatment day, if we're not going to Houston to MD Anderson, if my son isn't sick, if something else hasn't happened. And I've been incredibly, like Adam, incredibly open with them, and I've kind of shared everything. Um, but it is very low on my list right now. Like, family is first, and I have to say no to a lot of meetings, a lot of work. I have to pass a lot of things off, and it's been hard because I feel like I'm in like the groove of my career. Like I and it almost doesn't matter anymore. Like I just don't care. I need the insurance and we need the money, and I like my team, and that's kind of why I'm still there.
I'm actually a doctor myself in a high risk pregnancy, so it's a little bit sticky because I still feel like I have to like give my A effort at work when I see patients, but I am extremely aggressive with my schedule now. In the past, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, put me wherever, put me whenever," and now I'm like, on this day I'm not working in person. On this day I can do this type of clinical thing. On that day I can take call, and if they push back, I'm like, then don't schedule me because like I really am at the point where I cannot do everything for everyone. And luckily, for now, everyone has been really supportive with that. But like the kids know when I'm clinical, like we have to have a tighter morning because I have to get to drop them off early or to get to clinic on time or whatever. But I do think that it's so true. Like we need the money and we need the insurance, and so like that's a really powerful motivator. And it's hard to maintain your focus and your energy at work when you have so much going on at home. And that's something that I've like really been wrestling with personally, with no good answers.
Yeah, I think I I I was debating on whether to let like debating on how many people I should tell at work, and I ended up telling my immediate team and some other core folks, and I think that was a really great decision. Everyone was super understanding, said, please, whatever day you need to take off, we understand. So fortunately, my work has been really, really understanding. But yeah, I'm not, I'm just, my output is like not as good as it was before, and I think that's okay. Like my priority has shifted. If anything, like work is so easy compared to what we do for our partners. Like work, I'm like, I'm not stressed about this due date, like whatever. Like it's so small in the grand scheme of things. And so it's sort of like work was kind of like it occupied my time in a good way, where it's like I was able to just do that. So I think just like being transparent at work and letting him know, like, hey, like I can't do this time or this day, and that's been kind of working out.
I am not working outside the home anymore. And I feel like that's been kind of just another sort of adjacent loss to being on this cancer planet. Like Tori said, I felt like I was kind of like at the height of my career and I was in a groove and it was really meaningful work to me and I really enjoyed it. Um, and although I feel super fortunate that I don't have to work outside the home, it's been hard. It's been a really big loss, and kind of been an identity shift for me, losing that part of my day, and now feeling like I'm really just mom and just cancer partner.
Mm. Yeah, so many losses. Yeah, as you're moving through this. Um, we have a question from the audience. As the one with cancer, how can I best support my partner? Well, I've started the medication. My first oncology surgery isn't until February, but I can see they're getting burnt out and overwhelmed already.
I tell my husband all the time that the best thing he can do for me is to take care of himself as best as possible. If he's, remembering to take his medication, if he's remembering to eat and eat well, if he's, trying to get the sleep that he needs, that honestly takes so much off of my plate, because I'm not like in the moment worrying about his immediate needs. Of course, I'm still worrying about him as a whole. But when he skips medication, he might have a seizure. If he's not eating well, he gets super tired, or if he's not, sleeping well, then all of those things kind of are a domino effect. So I tell him all the time, I'm like, if you want to help me, just please take care of yourself as best as possible.
That question kind of breaks my heart a little bit, to be honest, because I think um as someone who has cancer, like you're going through like hell, for lack of a better word. And I think it's not your job to care for us, right? Like what am I trying to say? I think the partner support group, I'm not like a support group person, and I'm not getting any sort of monetary benefit from Bright Spot, obviously, but it's hard to emphasize how important that partner support group has been for me navigating that. And so I would just tell your partner to try to attend those groups because his or her emotional well-being is not your responsibility. And I agree 100% with what Ashley says. Like, I want Allison to like every day do everything she can to feel as good as possible for as long as possible. And like if that involves playing with the kids, like a card game on the couch when she's, not feeling terrible or helping with the pickup, that's a bonus. But like really her priority is like literally survival. And so that anything else is just a bonus. And I think having these connections with other people who are going through it really will help your partner get recentered and figure out the balance of how to just slug through this like horrible, difficult time.
I agree. I think um, we are thinking about our partners who are going through it more than we're thinking about like how do I take care of myself. And it's like this thing because, we love each other. It's like, no, we want the best for you. No, you want the best for me. Um, and I could tell my wife, Prairie, her heart, like she was just so hurt to see me like struggle, and like I want to do my best not to look like I'm struggling, so she's not worrying about me. Um, and so yeah, we were constantly thinking about our partners, and I think Ash said it best. It's like them being able to just rest, take care of themselves, uh, is actually really helpful for us. It's funny because I like ever since starting of the treatment, I'm doing all the morning routines and getting him out the door for school, and it almost became very orderly because I was like, we need to do this, and it kind of worked out right while Prairie was sleeping, and the times where she kind of resurges. Obviously the moms here know, like when the kids see their moms, they just act out and they go ballistic, and all of a sudden they want to cry and yell. And I'm just like, all right, Pray, I think you just need to just sleep. Like, just sleep, and let me get these kids clothes on and then ship them out the door. So yeah.
I agree with all this. I'd also say like don't sugarcoat it for me. Like don't protect me. Like we're in this together. We each have our own separate battles. But like I want, if you feel comfortable sharing, you feel ready to share, or if you're going through a difficult symptom, like I want to know. And I might not be able to fix it. I likely won't be able to fix it, but like don't sugarcoat it. I want to know everything you're going through, and I want to be that like support system for you.
That's so true, Troy. Like the hardest moment in this entire few months was when we were at an oncology appointment, and Allison like told the oncologist all these like horrific symptoms she was having that she hadn't like I was with her the entire time, and that felt like almost like a betrayal in a way. Like I know it wasn't intentional, she's trying to protect me, but we had the same discussion where it was like, if you feel comfortable, like I want to do what I can. Like if I set an alarm to remind you to take your nausea med or whatever it is, like let me know how I can help you. But if I don't know how you're feeling, then it's hard for me to be there for you. But that beautifully said, Tori.
Which of course kind of brings us to self-care. You guys already kind of touched on it a little bit or skirted it. And I think that it's so hard as a caregiver to have people telling you like, take care of yourself, take care of yourself. And it's sometimes just feels totally unrealistic, unattainable. So I'm wondering if you guys could speak to something that is like genuinely restores you. Like what kind of self-care practice is real, is accessible, is something that maybe other caregivers could practice that isn't just bubble baths and massages, but maybe even something small.
Here is another unpaid plug for the partner support group. Um, it might sound ironic to people who aren't support group people that being with a bunch of other people who are also going through the hardest time in their life could be restorative. But it is so helpful just to share your experience with people who are never going to judge you and them tell you, I totally get it. I've been there too. That is just, I mean, it's a game changer. It truly is. Because as Tori was saying, it can feel so incredibly isolating. And just to know that you have a safe place to vent or ask questions, or just share about a really hard thing that happened and have other people be like, yep, I totally get it, and I think support groups are so great in that you can get a lot of really good like ideas and feedback, but also people are so great in the groups just to listen. Um, and it always sounds funny to people who aren't on Cancer Planet, but there's a lot of laughter in those groups too. So I would say that's been the biggest self-care activity for me is just going to those groups.
I would say for me, it's not necessarily like one activity. It's like setting aside small amounts of time for myself. So at the beginning of this, I was like, oh, I want to go to a yoga class. Yoga feels like self-care, but I don't have an hour to give. Like, and so now it's like I'm gonna wake up 10 minutes earlier and do a 10-minute yoga class. Like I am going to, sit in my office for 5 extra minutes and, like just scroll TikTok. Like I'm gonna take these small chunks of time for myself, and it doesn't need to be anything big. It doesn't need to be this like massage or a facial or a yoga class. Like it can just be a small amount of time to take for myself to reset in whatever way that feels right.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. It's so I do jujitsu a few times a week, and when we first started treatment, I didn't really go, and Prey was actually like, you should go, like just take that hour and a half and just go, and I think that's been really helpful, like just to just exert all that energy out and just sweat. Um, and also, I didn't tell the people I train with what we're going through, just because I just wanted a spot to just like not talk about it. I just wanted them to see me and just be like, hey, like everything's normal, which was a little bit therapeutic for me. And so just go out there, sweat, just talk to people, and then just like come home and then be able to just reset has been helpful.
Mine is a little bit of a Debbie Downer potentially, but my therapist also strongly recommend that you get your own therapist as you navigate this. But what he said something a few months ago that I think about every day, which is that at this moment in my life, everything I do is going to drain my cup more than it fills it. So like your kids are going to drain, like you might love them and they might give you such joy, but at the end of the day, they're draining your cup. Your partner's draining your cup, work draining your cup. And so you just have to do the bare necessities to of like human needs to fill your cup as high as you can, just so it can be drained the next day, which like again sounds such like a Debbie Downer, but has really been helpful for like where I am currently and weirdly has been positive. And so like the three things that I do to drain my cup is I like sleep. I used to be a 7 hour sleeper, now I'm 8 hours. And that's like hard limit. Because if I don't get, and then intentional eating and like trying to move my body, not to like be fit, but like going for a walk in the woods. And like those three things are like my goals for the week. And it's been really helpful to reframe what self-care is, because if I hit those three things, then everything else on top of it feels like a huge positive. And like Alex was saying earlier, every day does, like, you have to gear up for every day, and so it kind of helps you get in the right mentality.
A lot of really great wisdom there, actually. I especially like Alex that you kept one part of your world that was not on Cancer Planet. I think that's incredibly powerful, actually, to just that you don't even have to hold that or deal with people asking you. And I think that's powerful. I think that's a good one. Um, a question from someone that is attending that I think is really important. Wondering how you deal with the roller coaster of good news, bad news. And I think especially when cancer becomes chronic or there's ambiguity, right? Of sort of like what's going to happen, what is prognosis? How do you sort of simultaneously hold on to, your partner possibly dying or living but changing, being different? How do you hold all of that?
That is the hardest part of it, I think. That's the hardest part of Cancer Planet. And, my husband and I are in a situation where with cancer, cholangiocarcinoma is notoriously incurable, and there's not a lot of treatments, and it's very rare. But he has a curative option on the table, which is a liver transplant, and everything needs to go right for him to be able to access that and for him to be able to get the surgery. And it feels like a daily roller coaster of why me in so many ways. Like, why me? Why am I on Cancer Planet? But then why me? Why do I have this curative option still on the table? Why do I have the chance of still having him around when others don't? And so it's a very difficult spot to be in. Sometimes I don't process it, and sometimes I can't. Um, and sometimes I just have to live day by day. I don't like to think about 5 years from now. I don't like to think about the future too much. It's like we are here and we are present and we are healthy and we are happy now. And that's something that has been difficult for me in the past. Is I'm very like future oriented, like to think about what's next, and that's kind of what cancer has given me. It's like the ability to be present and not think about the what ifs, because the what ifs are dark.
Something that I heard a couple of months ago that really resonated and has stuck with me is the concept of jaro. So holding joy and sorrow at the same time. And that's every day. That's every day for us. Um, Unfortunately, GBM is incurable and it has a very poor prognosis. So we don't live with that ambiguity, but our ambiguity lies in the fact that if you didn't know Joe's diagnosis, you would never even suspect that he was anything other than a super healthy guy in his 30s. Um, and so it's hard mentally to wrap your mind around the fact that, this person that I love, this incredible dad who's doing so much right now, is not going to be like that long term. And so I take every joy that I can, and still try and allow that space for that sorrow too.
I, I that was so powerful, Tori and Ashley. I think the only thing I could say is that I think the worst part about, well, for me, to do this is the waiting. It's like, here's the appointment, and then they're like, it could be this and this and this. We'll find out in 2 months, or we'll find out next week. It's just like, dude, just and then you're like Google searching and ChatGPTing, and I'm usually like, you could tell like I'm anxious in the waiting, and I just like my hands are like sweating every day. But I think like in the middle of this journey, it's like, what else can we do? And just wait and just like take the little joys that you have in this journey and be able um to just embrace it. Like I think in this whole thing, I was looking for the big win, not knowing it's like the small little moments are just as important. And so that's been really powerful for me.
I echo what everyone said, and I think in a weird way, like the kids are such an anchor to of like normalcy and routine. Because no matter what is going on with your oncologist or your surgeon or the waiting, which I agree is like the worst part, like your kid still is gonna be pissed off if they don't get the breakfast they want at the moment they want it. And so like that sense of normalcy can be really helpful. And I think one of the things that we did, knowing that Allison was starting her cancer journey at stage 4 and not really knowing what that meant, is we were extremely aggressive with language that was presented in our family. So we don't talk about fighting or warriors or battles, or it's a lifelong cancer that mommy's going to be dealing with, for as long as she lives. And we don't talk about dying, but like this is a process, like this is a part of who she is now. And we've been really intentional with, not telling the full truth, obviously, because no 6-year-old has the capacity to understand that, but just helping them share in all the victories and then like being aware of potential setbacks, but not to the full extent. And that has let them, like we were talking last night, like paradoxically, all three of our kids are thriving this year. And it's just like, it's unbelievable that that's possible, but it's a testament to like all the energy that we are pouring into them, all and our community is pouring into them. So,
That's fascinating that you said that, but that makes sense. To your point, they're actually getting a lot of love and attention and focus, and being able to feel seen like that, even during such a hard time, can help kids to grow. Definitely. Another question from an audience member, and I know this comes up all the time in group, is how do you guys manage, I think particularly grandparents, but any family, friend, neighbor, people like who are part of the caregiving team? Like how do you guys deal with that? And especially if you have different expectations, routines, rules, how do you guys manage?
so we again were really aggressive with this. So the what we heard very early on through this support group, again, someone who had been through this, was like, I want my kid, I don't care if someone who's close to me comes and picks my kid up from school if they don't know who that person is. I will only ask people for specific tasks that like let my children feel safe and secure. And that like resonated with us so strongly. So, we have a lot of people who want to come help or who want to visit us and stay with us and like we live far away from our family, so it's like a little bit of a schedule, but it's also like we're prioritizing the people that we know our kids feel the most comfortable with. Not that we don't love all the people who are trying to help. And I think just again, keeping the lens on what your kids need, like it offends some people. Like some of my family are hurt that they have not been invited to come for a chemo cycle, but it's nothing personal against them. It's just what we need. And I'm the person who's setting those boundaries and following through. Allison is completely shielded from that. So that's how we've been navigating, but we don't have family locally, which I think could be a blessing or meet grandparents locally, which could be, a whole different level. So
Shortly after my husband first started being ill, my mom actually sold her house and moved across the country to move in with us. And when I say we couldn't do it without her, we literally could not do it without her because she is in it every single day with us. And probably the most helpful thing, or one of the most helpful things um, to navigate this new living situation is my mom and I and my husband have all actually started family counseling. And through that, my husband and I have been able to recognize that part of what my mom has been grieving is that she can no longer just be the super fun grandparent. Her envision of being a grandparent was to love on these kids like crazy, give them everything that they want, go crazy, and then, not have to do the minutia and like the disciplining and all that. And that's been a big loss for her. And then on the flip side of that, I think it's helped her to realize that she truly is like a third co-parent in our house, which, yes, comes with a lot of responsibility. But now she is firmly an anchor in our life. Like Adam was saying, our kids know that if they need anything, they can ask grandma just like they could ask my husband and I. And so trying to have us all be on the same page and recognizing that while my husband and I have had years of figuring out how to parent together, my mom is kind of coming into this late in the game. And so we have a lot of grace for people who are providing so much support to us. Um, and just rolling with it, being flexible and rolling with it as much as we can.
I think for my mom and Prairie's parents, they were really helpful. We were able to at certain times just take our kids over to my in-laws and they'll stay over for the night, and that's been amazing. Um, but like being close to our parents comes with the cost of them um, coming in and be like, "Hey, my friend said that you should be doing this and this," and oh, I read this, and you're just like, we we're following doctor's orders. We're good. And so that's the kind of relationship that we have with our parents. And although there is baggage, they've been a tremendous help. And yeah, Ashley, to Ashley's point of like, yeah, they kind of have to learn to not just be this fun grandparent. And they're still working on that. But I had to let go too. It's like, okay, if I ship my kids off to my in-laws, they're gonna eat candy before dinner, and you know what? I just have to let go, and that's it. I just have to take the whatever help I can. Um, and so, long story short, they've been an incredible support and help along this journey. Um, yeah.
We're very similar to Adam in the sense that we don't have a lot of family very close by. So day in and day out, it's us kind of in the thick of it. And I think what we have both found helpful is designating certain people being kind of like the best at certain situations. So like my in-laws are incredibly great with my son. And if we need to go to Houston together and we need to get scans and it's a big treatment week or whatever, he's safe there. And maybe we can get some emotional support from somewhere else or from each other, and kind of designating certain people as an owner of something and not expecting them to do everything. They're not going to be able to navigate us through it all, but they can really be there to support my son, to love my son, to be there for us when we need childcare.
I know something that's pretty common for couples that can be difficult to navigate is, shifting roles and the way that you interact, and sometimes becoming a caregiver can really impact the type of relationship you have, including the intimacy you have. I'm wondering if you guys have anything to share about how you've navigated that.
Therapy. Therapy has been the best. I mean, um, there's so much that we are each going through together and separately. We're in this together, but my husband Keaton is a totally separate journey from me, and being able to kind of like have this hour a week where we designate talking about all the big scary things and all the kind of grievances from the last week or whatever has been um, so helpful, because yeah, I mean, priorities have shifted. I do, um especially the beginning of my husband's diagnosis. He was on chemo and was very sick, and I did a lot of the parenting, and just being able to have our therapist there to like talk about that has been incredible. So highly recommend couples therapy for sure.
It's so hard. I know a lot of parents with young children can relate to that feeling of kind of being touched out. And I think that can be like being physically touched out, but also just mentally touched out too, from just giving and giving and giving all day long. And then when you're a caregiver, that's a whole nother layer. Um, but I think readjusting expectations and keeping communication open between you and your spouse and trying to find just little micro moments, similar to how Adam was talking about self-care. Something that my husband and I did in therapy, Tori, that I thought was so helpful was we just sat on the floor back to back with each other and just not speaking, just for like 3 minutes. And it provided like such this beautiful kind of sweet physical grounding connection, um, and which is a nice little reset. Um, but yeah, we're definitely still navigating that, and it's hard.
I feel like it's hard even without cancer when you have little kids in terms of intimacy, like if to take a 10,000 foot view of things. But I think what's been helpful for us is kind of, and it's very cliche, but like redefining what intimacy means. So like exactly what Ashley was saying, like non-sexual touching. Like sometimes Allison feels horrible, but she just wants to be cuddled. Like she's like almost like a child. And so we'll put on Top Chef, which is her favorite thing to watch. And I literally just kind of like spoon with her, and she just feels she like it's just really helpful. But we're all figuring it out, and it is, super tricky. But I think kind of redefining how we kind of help each other feel connected has been really helpful.
Yeah, 100% to what everyone just said here. It is like uh, looking at intimacy in a different lens. In the beginning too, you're just like it's in the back of your brain, and then as like time goes by, you're just like you notice it, like oh, there hasn't been any intimacy. But my wife Prairie, she does a really good job of like bringing it up. Hey, like I know we haven't in a while, and I'm sorry. And I think for both of us, like we're just not in the states that we used to be because I mean she's just feeling so horrible after chemo. And I'm not gonna go and be like, hey, I know you just finished chemo, but what do you think about and it's like really hard. And so I think it just took a shift in just how we view it, and like to everyone's point of just like cuddling or hugging or long hugs or just being next to each other while we're watching something. Um, but yeah, the conversations are important between partners.
I know we're nearing the end, and I just feel like you guys have had so much to share, like so many frequent sound bites I've heard that I just want to hold on to. But I feel like it'd be really helpful to end if you wouldn't mind each sharing a way that you feel like your family, either your kids or your family as a whole, have really like shined through this because this is hard and no one asked for it. And yet, as some of you have talked about, there have been like these shining moments of how you guys have been resilient and strong and like proven your grit. So, I think it might be helpful for us to like just hear a little bit about that.
Despite how challenging this cancer journey has been and is for us, I feel incredibly honored and privileged to be able to live out my husband and I's wedding vows every day and keep those at the forefront of our lives. And I truly have fallen even more in love with him, not just as a partner, but just as a human being. I think he's so incredible, and his grit and his resilience has shined through so strongly. There hasn't been one doctor's appointment where he hasn't made someone laugh. He's so funny, and he's just the mental strength that he has to just get up every day and be in it and be a dad and be a husband while also going through quite literally most people's worst nightmare has just been incredible. And I think he's the most amazing human being I've ever met. Um, and while I would absolutely change our situation in a heartbeat, um, it it has been incredible watching him navigate this.
Yeah, I am with you 100%. Actually, my watching my husband truly change overnight, change everything about him, his diet, his day to day. I'm in awe, honestly, every day, and I think that first night where we found out, we both laid in bed. I don't think we ever thought we would be able to do this. Like, you get the news, you have cancer. This is bad, is what every doctor is telling us, and it's you don't think you can do it, and um, you can, and you do it because you have to. You do it because you love your partner, and watching my husband kind of meet all of his challenges head on, and he just climbed a 14er, which in Colorado is a 14,000 foot mountain, which is nothing that I think he would have really done before cancer, but it's given him kind of, and me and our family, this like new lease on life. And it sounds really cheesy, but it really has like new perspective of what matters. And I'm incredibly proud of him and myself every day.
Um, you know the saying where nothing gets in between a mother and her children. Truly, nothing does, not even cancer. I think Prairie has been like, I already knew she was so strong, and physically she's pretty strong, but she has just been, um, it's like she just knows what to do. Like when we found out diagnosis, I was a wreck. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what? And she's just like, okay, well, here are the next steps. And she's just like ready to go. And I'm like dragging my feet with tears. And she's just been so incredible and so grounded. Um, and even how to teach our kids about cancer. Initially I was like, well, we shouldn't say anything, right? Because they're little, they want to understand. Like, we don't want to bring that to the world. And she was like, no, I think it's important that they know. This is just a little marker in their lives, and hopefully they know like how strong our family is. And I don't see things that way, and it's just so amazing. And her being so transparent and educating our kids, and the kids also being so amazing and understanding the situation, kind of, and them saying, telling their teachers and friends like, "Oh, my mom has cancer," um, and obviously they don't know the weight of it because they still try to jump on her and whatnot. But my family has been the shining stars in this whole journey, and I've just been this like mess. So um, yeah, I think I've just been so incredibly blessed and so encouraged to see how my wife battles through this, and for her to just be so so hopeful and a shoulder for me, which is weird to say because I'm the caregiver. Um, yeah.
And I echo what everybody says. I think what I've been thinking a lot about is one of the reasons that I think made me fall in love first with Allison is that she's the type of person who kind of makes everyone around her better and just builds community. And like and she's a middle school teacher, she's on medical leave, but we went on campus like a few weeks ago and like everyone ran up to her and it was just like, she was still kind of radiating that same energy that she had before. And it was just like, wow, like we've been through the ringer and she still is who she is. And I agree with what all three of you said, like in a way it makes you have an even more profound sense of love and appreciation for them.
It's so beautiful. Thank you all so much for being here. Truly, incredible. It was really beautiful for me to hear from all of you as well. So thank you for sharing so much of your wisdom with us. I know I'm seeing lots of appreciation in the chat. So thank you again. I will let everyone know I'll be following up with a link to the recording and the survey link. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll hope to catch you in the future. Bye, guys.